Bringing some breaking news now. The US President Donald Trump has just posted on social media that he is reinstating the US blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Let's go over to Rosalind Jordan at the White House. Quite a significant statement. And he's also had something to say about tolls. Take us through that.
Well, I'm going to read from part of the Truth Social post that the U.S. president just put on his personal social media account, and I'm quoting, "We are reinstating," in all capital letters, "the Iranian blockade, so named because it is only stopping Iran's ships or customers from entering or leaving," and that implies the Strait of Hormuz. "All other countries will have fair and open use of the strait. The USA will be, from this point forward, known as the, quote, guardian of the Hormuz Strait, but as such, and as a matter of, in capital letters, fairness, we will be reimbursed at the rate of 20% on all cargo shipped for any and all costs necessary to do the job of providing safety and security to this very volatile section of the world. The process and formation will begin immediately." Now, we don't have any more details on what the process and formation will be, but recall that earlier in the war between the U.S. and Iran, the president ordered the U.S. Navy to impose a blockade on all Iranian shipping through the strait. We don't know whether the U.S. Military is currently configured in order to be able to carry out a blockade. It has been providing some escort work for commercial ships going through the Strait of Hormuz because there are mines at the bottom of the strait, and clearly there is no desire to have these commercial vessels blown up by these mines. But again, the U.S. President Donald Trump is announcing that this U.S. Blockade of Iranian shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is going to resume, we imagine, later on Monday.
Rosalind, this is quite a significant change of U.S. policy, right? What the U.S. president had been saying on June 20th was there will be no tolls or fees for 60 days. What he said on May 29th was more indicative of no tolls and unrestricted traffic. And now talk of a U.S. imposition of some kind of fee.
Well, let's unpack this a bit. As part of the memorandum of understanding, as I understand it, there was not supposed to be any more blockade carried out by the U.S. Navy, and that apparently stopped the minute the two countries agreed to this memorandum of understanding. That said, the U.S. military has been providing some escort services to commercial vessels because the strait has not been fully cleared of mines, and so there is that safety risk. But in terms of preventing Iranian vessels or vessels doing business with Iran, whether it's the government or businesses, that was not being carried out because that was a part of the MOU. Does that mean, with the president's latest announcement, that the memorandum of understanding is now null and void, or is the U.S. violating the memorandum of understanding? All of these questions need to be sorted out because this is only creating more confusion on the status of the MOU, which was supposed to be the 60-day period for the U.S. and Iran to figure out how to move from a ceasefire to a permanent end to their war. There's also this question about whether the U.S. can legally impose any tariffs on countries that it is assisting throughout this process, because another part of the MOU was the Iranians would not charge any vessels for transiting the strait for the 60 days of the MOU, implying that the Iranians would be able to then charge tolls or tariffs after that 60-day period. These are questions that need to be sorted out, that both governments need to try to explain, try to renegotiate if they are willing to renegotiate at this point. This is all just coming out in probably the last 7 to 8 minutes or so. So there are a lot of questions that we just can't clarify at this point.
On the verge of asking you to clarify the unclarifiable, Rosalind, but Is there any indication from any U.S. quarter about how this new system of imposing a 20% fee is going to work? I mean, Donald Trump's post talks about it as starting immediately.
We haven't gotten any reaction from any members of Congress, for example. This is just coming out. We have not heard from any economic analysts or any geopolitical analysts taking a look at this. There had been concern over the past weekend or so that the status of the MOU was in serious jeopardy, but there were also signs that intermediaries, Pakistan, Qatar, Oman, other countries, were still working to keep the parties at the table and to try to continue negotiating the terms for a permanent end to the war. So this is all just happening in the last few minutes, and it is raising a lot of questions about whether or not the MOU is still viable, is still in force. We don't even know what the Iranian response is yet, but clearly Iranian officials had been saying earlier on Monday that they were blaming the U.S. for this latest round of tension in the Strait, and that the U.S. was basically destabilizing the global energy markets by its actions. So we really don't know yet what is going to happen to the MOU, whether we're about to see a resumption of warfare between the two countries, or whether things can be clawed back again and try to retain the ceasefire, which is about halfway through its 60-day period.
And you mentioned the energy markets. I should point out, Rosalind, we've got the strap up there on the screen. Oil price is 79.59. It was 79.60 for Brent. So it does look like the concerns you were talking about are playing out somewhat on the oil markets right now. Thanks so much, Rosalind Jordan there, reporting to us from outside the White House.